Yo, what's up, y'all? Good morning. Garage Hangs, drinking some coffee. I was asked a great question the other day and asked to write an article on it. And I thought, yeah, that would be great. But I also want to make a video on it because I thought it was just such a cool question. And I love exploring this type of conversation. The question was, how does our physical training impact our everyday reality, the way that we perceive reality? And I personally believe it's great. The way that we train most definitely impacts the ways that we exist within reality. And how that is I don't really want to go into some of the nuanced perspectives that I have on this and explore it very open-endedly without putting a bow on it really, but just explaining the way that I see things, how I perceive things, and how I've existed within challenging my body and now how I interact with reality. The first would be, I was having a little conversation with Brent and talked about, he said something like a tweet about if you have to be in touch with the reality and being pessimistic is just like being realistic, something along that lines. And I asked, well, do you believe that our reality can morph and shift, something along those lines, to by the way that we perceive it? So like the way that we interact with it, can it be changed? Like so, and kind of how we went back and forth is the example was if Brent and Zach are hiking a mountain and Brent's in really good shape and Zach's really fat, both of them are having the exact same experience on the mountain, except for the way that they're perceiving the experience is radically different. Brent's having a great time taking in the views. Zach's hunkered over, breathing hard, really struggling in the hike. Now we take this into a multitude of areas and it starts to get really interesting. So my philosophy is do hard things. Yes, it definitely originated from the physical powerlifting, strength training, just learning to fail on lifts week after week after week. That led to 700-pound squats and deadlifts and a 465 bench. So it manifested first in the physical by strength training, but then it started going into other things. Like I started exploring deeper, longer fasts. So not just like multiple days, but multiple weeks and months, not consistently, but like one meal a day, and pulling way back on the amount of times that I'm consuming food. It was a challenge, and that consistent challenge really helped me perceive life differently. I was interacting with reality much differently than I was before because I was reframing from the desire of my flesh of wanting to eat all the time. So what it started doing is like strengthening my resolve. Another thing I think about is I got my sauna right here, man. And garage is a mess, so cut me a break, but I got the sauna and the Echo bike. Both these are torturous devices, and I'll push long sauna sessions because you feel like you're gonna die inside the sauna when you push it really far. And as far as a health benefit, probably overdo it at times, but it does really well for me mentally. So when I feel like I'm about to die in the sauna and I just can't go any further, I feel like this in the sweat lodge as well when I went with my boy Jay Azeltine to the jungle to experiment with ayahuasca. Which was a great for me, by the way. I know a lot of Christians are taboo about it, and everyone has the right to have their own opinions and perspectives on plant-based medicine, but it was very beneficial for me, and I've also experienced a lot of people who've interacted with who have come to grow their relationship with Christ from it. And I know these people personally, so that's neither here nor there. But nonetheless, I'm in this sweat lodge and I thought I'm gonna die in this sweat lodge. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And after the sweat lodge, it built this confidence within me to allow me to just continue in discomfort from like a mental perspective and even like a physical one of like, when I start to feel like anger or frustration start to well up, sarcasm start to well up in my chest about any particular situation, I would typically find myself just saying what was on my mind, maybe wanting to, boom, gotcha kind of thing in a conversation, especially if I didn't vibe too well with the person. But what the sweat lodge did is it taught me almost like how to bite my tongue, how to deal with that feeling in my chest that wanted to express itself. Not that I feel like we should always keep our mouth shut, so don't get that twisted. This is typically whenever it was not necessarily needed. So the sweat lodge again strengthened my resolve, my ability to be in emotional control fasting has done something very similar to me, and it's built confidence in emotional control for me. So the physical challenge helped me strengthen myself, I would say, mentally and emotionally, and fasting too, more so like spiritually, like strengthened my spiritual resolve a lot, like maybe my ability to refrain from lust or entertaining that, whether it be through social media or whatever. It strengthened my resolve. Another way that I think about it is like when I'm in a long run, I do a lot of endurance training now, and it's completely different than powerlifting, but that feeling of like, dude, I can't go any further, but you just keep going anyways. It reminds me so much, like last night, it's 10 o'clock at night, and my wife and little man are out there at the movie, and they're doing the whole day together, and I'm with the other kid, Ambrose, and he's in bed for a couple hours, and I'm doing some work on my camper, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm just in like getting to the dishes, and I'm like trying to make all that stuff squared up before my wife gets home, and just so she can kind of float into the house. The dishes is typically something she does, and I like to gift that in a way. Whenever she's away, I like her to come home to a clean slate, and just as much as I help her with her duties in the home, she helps me with things with inside of my business as well, whether that's helping me spell check different things or whatever it might be on different products and services that I use. So anyways, I'm cleaning up the house, and I'm kind of just like at the end, my wit's end. I'm tired. I'm very tired. And my wife comes in, and they're talking and stuff. I'm dealing with this electrical issue with my camper. I just want to be like, dude, shut up. I just want to like, they're telling you about the day, and it's all good stuff, but naturally, like emotionally, I just was fried. But nonetheless, all of this training that I've done with an endurance and saunas, long, tough workouts, really has helped me interact with reality and my experiences differently. Like I have a deeper level of patience. I think a lot of that too is stemmed from spending a week in total darkness. So I went to a cave, Sky Cave Retreats, very nice cave, by the way. But nonetheless, you're in total darkness. They pass food through a double door, and I spent over 5 days in total darkness, and that was a physical experience as well. Obviously, felt a lot within my body, but what it did is, as it's like softer, like I softened into that space. And whenever now I go into an experience, I've been able to pull that experience to now when I go into experiences in my day-to-day life, and I'm feeling a little bit like tense, overwhelmed, stress, everything just comes up, how it goes. And I've been able to pull from that experience and like soften into whatever experience I was in. And sometimes the best thing to say is nothing at all. And I've learned that, from the physical manifestation of these type of challenges. So I've been able to interact with reality much differently over the course of my 20 years of training. And it definitely has like these like parallels too. Like now that I've been doing more endurance training, I feel like I have just more endurance within my spirit, like within my being. I have more patience to continue into suffering. Whereas I used to subscribe to the idea, and I tweet this a lot, and it doesn't get much engagement because who knows, whatever. But when you actually think a little deeper on it, like, I don't want to be comfortable. I subscribe to the idea of like, find comfort in uncomfortable. I'm like, right, but it's kind of like an oxymoron. Doesn't really make sense. Like, I used to subscribe to that, but now not so much. I'm like, no, I'm completely okay with feeling uncomfortable. I need to find contentment in uncomfortable. I need to find myself being completely content with suffering and struggling. Because when I'm in these ultra events, I'm rocking 62 miles with 30, 40 pounds on my back, and I have 5 more hours to go, and my body's just screaming at me, like looking for a way out. Like I'm not looking for comfort there. Like I've gone to that point, and that's whenever my training actually starts. The last 5 miles, whenever my body's fried and my mindset's fried, and I just want to succumb to whatever feeling I'm experiencing in that moment, which is typically tired, lethargicness, fatigue, anger, frustration. Stuff starts to come up. Like what's already inside of us begins to come up whenever adversity, like life and the circumstance or situation, begins to shake us. That's what comes out. So my physical training is sauna and all the things that I've mentioned, the darkness, even the breath work, like when I do these things continually, And I'm not that saying I'm doing them every day or even week to week. Most of my physical training, yes, but a lot of the other practices are floated in and out throughout the month. Time away from my phone like slows my mind down so much. I really can't even express how much my mind is slowed down from not being on the phone, which is why I'm encouraging so many people to do the 24-hour challenge, and why I've spent almost 40 days now this year without my phone at all, because it just slows me down. So how I interact with reality is much different because my inputs are different. So then therefore my outputs are different. So I believe that physical activity has a profound impact on the way that we experience reality. And naturally, I believe that where the mind goes, energy flows and momentum grows. So therefore, wherever my mind goes, that is where the energy is going to be, and that's where the momentum of my life is going to be. So when my mind is focused on seeking challenge and being content within challenge, then my energy then is moving in the direction, like my actions are moving in the direction to seek the challenge, to not run from it, not to be complacent, not to procrastinate, but to be in it, to problem solve. So what it's also, and then naturally it becomes the momentum of my life. So that's why I've opened multiple businesses, and I've gone on multiple different business endeavors and adventures, and I've got the RV, like all of these different things that I choose to take on. It's just problem solving. I partner with other businesses as well. It's all problem solving, that's what it is. But since I've always chosen to seek the problem, the challenge, and then to work through the problem, it's helped me create momentum in my life as such. So now that I have been choosing to do hard things in the physical for 2 decades, it's encouraged me to do the same within my spirit and within my other disciplines, both mentally, emotionally as well. Emotionally though, like for me, emotional growth typically comes from everyday life. It's taking these physical manifestations of challenge, of working out, of sauning, breath working, long, hard endurance events, fasting. It's just taking that and implementing the feeling, the source of like what's happening with inside my body, of how I'm on a 3-day fast, I'm still working out, and I still have clients, I'm still solving problems, and my kid's shit in his pants, and my wife needs something, and the other kid needs to run to this place. It's like, you just want to respond to that emotion, like I'm just like being overwhelmed. But that 3-day fast shows me that my flesh is going to give me signals. Feelings are just indicators, not dictators. Awful dictators, if so. So these feelings come up and they want to dictate me, but whenever I put myself in these physical challenges, it teaches me how to control myself from a physical level. Whenever I'm feeling, 3 days in a fast and I want to eat, the desire is to eat, or I'm angry about a little thing because I'm super hungry, and then this desire would be to respond emotionally, but I don't. I'm able to just sit in that, and to sit in that discomfort, to be content in the discomfort, is all stemmed from all of these things that I'm doing physically. And even if you want to call the darkness not a physical thing, it still felt very physical to me because naturally there was no light. Also mentally, add a mental in there, you could add emotional in there because you could feel like you want to go, mentally or emotionally unstable or crazy when you're in the dark for a week. So I could see how that could be blended as well with what we're talking about, which really brings like full circle to this embodiment practice. My good friend Jordan Goldstein and I have tons of conversations on this exact topic that I'm sharing with you right now, open-endedly. And we both discuss this embodiment, mind, body, spirit, like how that's connected. And I truly believe that our consciousness, our spirit is separate. Like I feel like I'm in this thing. Like I feel like I'm like in this, like it's not really me, but I'm in this body. I call it my earth suit, and it's this very temporary. I know it's temporary because it's like always morphing. It's always hurting, and I love to morph the body. I've been massive, 215 and really jacked and deadlifting 700. I've been skinny, 170 or under, running Ironman. It's like I'm always morphing this earth suit to meet the demands within the mind, but more so like within my spirit. There's like something in me that's calling me to these different challenges. within the physical world that's profoundly impacted my spirit and my thought process and just the way that I approach things. I'm not so attracted to things that are easy. I'm more attracted to things that are challenging. That's going to cause me to stretch myself a bit more, to dive deeper and understand. For instance, this RV I have is like, well, if you never had one, they're a lot of work. It's a second home and you drive it, so things are always fucking up on it. It's always a process of fixing this thing and doing different things with it. But that's why I got it. I got it to tinker. I like to tinker around with things and try to learn how to do things and just broaden my understanding on all kinds of different things. It's always something for me. I was just into some electric work just recently, and I'm just interested in expanding myself and going into challenges, because I know what it just does for me. It's my everyday rhythm of my life. So I believe that physical exertion, physical challenge most definitely changes the way that we interact with reality. I have a massive, I would consider myself a workhorse. I have no problem working 20 hours. I could work for days. There's a situation happened in my business a couple of years ago, less than 2 years ago, and I worked for almost 3 days straight. No sleeping, just work. I love it. Maybe that's that blue collar in me, but I got to solve the problems and I got to finish the job. And that was great. I love to do that. I love to seek that challenge. But also within me that I believe I wouldn't have that capacity, like that threshold. For instance, yesterday I did my Echo bike. I took my kid on a 5-mile bike ride. I took him on a 2-mile run in his stroller. I played with him at the park. I ran 3.5 miles on top of all that. 20,000+ steps. I fasted half the day. I was hungry, obviously, but I just had the capacity, the threshold to do that because it's like a regular day for me. Whereas someone who hasn't trained themselves up as much, their interaction with reality is going to look radically different. They can't take their kid to run to the park with the kid. He's not going to be able to laugh or to bike with the kid and down hills and up hills, and he's not going to be able to have that experience. So Ambrose and I, my son, the little guy, we're interacting with reality radically different than someone who's in bad shape, because of the disciplines. I struggle to call it discipline. I don't feel like I have some. Of course I have discipline. I do a lot of things, and there's a lot of things I do that I don't want to do, and I do it anyways. But when it comes to my physical exertion, I love it. Oh, I love it. I could go, and I'm doing all my thing. I got a pond right across the street here, and I'm like out there fishing right before dark just to get some more time in. Like, I love to be moving and doing things. What's more harder for me is like sitting still and being like just present fully. So it's been something I've worked on over the last 4 or 5 years with all of these different practices: sauna, darkness, acupressure, acupuncture, like laying on a bed of nails, different things like that, breath work, meditating, sitting in the freezing cold for an hour or 2 hours and warming my body up with the Wim Hof method. Love those things. And it's definitely changed the way I've interacted with reality. So if you're in bad shape and I'm in good shape, we're going to interact with reality much, much differently. If you've never overcome some deep mental challenge barrier, well, when a challenge happens within your work or maybe within your family, and you don't have the skills to do it, by the way, I think some of these skills can be taught to us, or they can also be spiritual gifts. But there's a large portion of it that I believe needs to be learned, learned the hard way, if you will. And to be experienced would be a better way to say it. And the experience is what gives you the learning, the knowing, maybe you want to call it the wisdom, the way to be able to actually navigate through whatever that experience is that you're having. So I do believe that some of this can be spiritual gifts. I do believe some of it can be taught through parents, especially if parents design it in a way that creates challenge within your life to help you overcome and to be confident. I believe that can be happen as well. For me though, it's a lot about just doing it myself and then experiencing it. I spent a couple hours on YouTube learning about electric stuff, and I got all the tools, and I just figured out what I needed to figure out, and I feel very rewarded at the end of it. I'm like, oh cool, that's another tool in my tool belt. And for me, when it comes to doing challenges, I have this funny saying, and I think you'll dig it. I always say, my wife's like, how do you know how to do stuff? I said, because there's dumber people out there doing it than me. I just know it. I know there's dumber people out there doing it than me. For years, I piggybacked my heater. My furnace was broke in the house. Every fall it's broke. I'd fix it, and it worked all winter. I literally piggybacked this thing for like 5-6 years. Had no idea. I don't know how to work. I'm not no HVAC technician, but I figured out what I needed to do. YouTube University, a little bit of confidence that I had to be able to solve problems from a lot of the physical challenges that I've done has bled over into my ability to solve problems in a multitude of areas of my life. So I believe that physical activity radically changes the way that we perceive our reality. Hope you guys enjoyed this 20-minute talk. I like having these type of conversations. I would prefer to have these type of conversations back and forth, but if this is something that you're interested into, I would highly encourage you to follow my good friend Jordan Goldstein. He talks a lot about this. It's actually the basis of his coaching, and a large part of how I operate as well and what I believe into. Sending you guys a ton of love. Peace.